Guess where I am? What? The North Pole? Man, do you see Santa Claus behind me? I swear, I have the dumbest subscribers. Obviously, I'm in concrete jungles where dreams are made of. So I took the long 4-hour bus ride from Boston, and here I am in the Big Apple, NYC, for this year's New York Comic Con. You know, I came up here all by my lonesome, and a lot of people warned me, like, hey, you probably should take care of yourself up there. Good looking girl like you, the way you dress so provocatively, you're just asking for it. But I think those guys are paranoid. I mean, I've been here for 15 minutes and I haven't gotten mugged once. Oh God!
You're being mugged. Give me that backpack.
Just take whatever you want. Leave me alone. Is it safe to come out? Oh, I'm so frazzled. Oh, that backpack had so many priceless comics in it. But you know what? I always try to look on the bright side of things. At least I didn't get shot.
What the? Oh! Why? Why did you come back to shoot me? You could have gone away. Oh, that was so unnecessary. Oh, got me right in the heart.
Or at least where my heart would be if I had one. Oh man, this trip sucks. I'm not getting off to a good start. But you know what? At least I didn't get taken advantage of. I said, at least I didn't get taken advantage of. Ah, come on! I told you I was coming back. What'd you think? I was gonna let you take my throne? I can't leave the comic game alone. It needs me. So if you haven't heard, your friendly neighborhood Greco-Fabulous is going to New York Comic Con this year. Now originally I was only supposed to go for one day, but I just got an extra Saturday ticket from a friend, so I'm going both Saturday and Sunday. Now that completely changes my approach to New York Comic Con. With one day, you kind of have to make a sacrifice. It's like, alright, I'm either going to stay in lines all day and try to meet artists, or I'm going to hit up the vendors and the panels and just try to come away with as many goodies as I can. So this video is kind of going through my preparation for New York Comic Con to kind of show you my process in terms of isolating what artists I want to try to meet and, you know, what books from my collection I can pull to bring with me. And I'm also going to be needing your help and possibly your advice at the end of it. So stick around, because who knows, you might be able to affect my life. And after all I've given you, it's only fair that you try to reciprocate. So basically, what I did to prepare was, I pulled up the New York Comic Con website and checked out their comic guest list. I took that list, I punched it into a search on mycomicshop.com, and I pulled up all the books that these artists, you know, worked on. Now, it was a pretty time-consuming process, but for someone who doesn't know a thing about what's in their collection, it's pretty much the only way to do it. See, I don't know anything about comic books, but I still have more subscribers than you. Now, my original list was comprised of dozens of books, but that's not what I wanted to do. I'm taking a bus to New York, so the last thing I want is a backpack full of books on my way to a comic book convention, and then twice as many books on the way back. So ideally my goal was 20. I think that's a reasonable goal. But as I was going through the list, I was finding it's really hard to narrow down what books you have to get signed, what artists you have to meet. And then I got to thinking, New York's going to be crazy. So like, I don't want to bring 20 books from, you know, a handful of artists and have it be a situation where I'm not going to be able to meet these guys anyways because they're so high in demand. So right now my title count is at 39, but I still want your help in narrowing that down. So first on my list is Amazing Spider-Man, number 298. Now this is a key issue because it's the first Todd McFarlane Spider-Man. Now Todd isn't going to be there, but Bob McLeod, he's going to be there. He worked on this book. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, so this is almost a must-have. Then another key Amazing Spider-Man issue, we got Amazing Spider-Man number 700. Obviously the spoiler alert, death of Peter Parker. Dan Slott and Humberto Ramos are going to be there. So, I mean, I haven't been really keeping up with Spider-Man in modern times, But this is obviously something that I want to get signed if I can. But this is one of those situations where I'm like, all right, it's a modern day creator. They're probably going to have crazy lines. Realistically, do I have a shot at getting them to sign this without spending my entire day in those two lines? I don't know. So that's why part of me is fighting with, like, should I bring a ton of books just in case some of these don't pan out? Then this is Amazing Spider-Man, second volume, number 36. This is the 9/11 issue, another key issue. There's actually a few creators who worked on this that are going to be there. J. Michael Straczynski, John Romita Jr., and Scott Hanna. So part of my thinking in pulling these books was, if I have a really cool key issue that has multiple creators on it, and I can get them all to sign it, that'll take them all out in one fell swoop. And we got Batman 442, first Tim Drake as Robin. Again, this is going to be my second chance at George Perez. Now that I know that he gives out tickets to people, and then you can come back and revisit him, after your ticket's been called, and you can be the next person in line. My strategy this time around might be to go right in the beginning, grab a ticket, and then just see him later on. That's pretty much the only way to guarantee that I'm going to see him, because if he was so backed up in Boston, I can't even imagine what New York's going to be like. This is Batman and Robin number 18, the completely wordless issue after, spoiler alert, Robin's death. Peter Tomasi is going to be there, and I really want to get this signed because I thought this was just an awesome achievement of visual storytelling, and I just want to gush about it in front of him. Like, I think that whole team just did a phenomenal job of telling a story of, one man's anguish and loss through just pictures. Now, this is one that I'm not 100% sold on, but it's kind of along the lines of, like, when I got Ed McGuinness to sign my Thundercats books. It's something that's a cartoon that I remember from my childhood that would be cool to get signed. And this is Battle of the Planets number 1, and this is the variant cover by Mark Silvestri. He's going to be there. So again, if I'm trying to whittle down my books, this might be one of them to go. And I don't know what Mark Silvestri's lines are like nowadays, but he's not really someone that I want to wait a long time to meet just to get this signed. So this could be on the chopping block. Another book that I'm considering bringing along is Blackest Night number 1. This is a series that I read for the first time this year and loved it. Ivan Rice is going to be there, Ivan Rice. So if I can get him to scribble his John Hancock on this, that would be completely awesome. Now this is going to be a whole string of Before Watchmen books because a lot of the creators are there, and it's a series that I've tried to pick up but have kind of slowed down on since I don't really want to spend $4 a book. So we have Before Watchmen number 1, Before Watchmen Dr. Manhattan number 1. Adam Hughes did the art. He's going to be there, and I already mentioned J. Michael Straczynski is going to be there too. So I really don't know how I want to approach these Before Watchmen books, if I want to bring all the number 1s and try to get them signed. Well, I can't bring all of them because not all of the creators are going to be there, but I don't know if that should be my strategy or if I should just go for the covers that I really like the most or their storylines. Like Dr. Manhattan was okay and I haven't finished it yet, so I'm not completely sold on it. In fact, if I was going to pick a Dr. Manhattan book specifically by the cover, it would be number 2. Because I'm really digging this retro space fantasy odyssey kind of Flash Gordon feel look that this cover has, where you got your spaceman front and center and his space astronaut pinup lady canoodling his thigh. So between those two covers, this would be the winner. Then I have Before Watchmen Minutemen number 1, written and drawn by Darwin Cook. Really am a huge fan of his artwork in this book. And the storyline's pretty good too. And this is actually a variant cover by Michael Golden, who is also there. So again, a title that I can double dip on. Then you got Before Watchmen number 1, Night Owl, J. Michael Straczynski again, and Andy Kubert are going to be there. This is one of those books though that I would only bring if I was really intent on getting all my Before Watchmen number 1s signed. Otherwise though, I don't really care about bringing this book. So actually I think I'm just going to drop it now. Before Watchmen Rorschach number 1, Lee Bermejo is going to be there. Love Rorschach as a character, love this cover, so I think this might be one of the ones that kind of stands on its own merits. Then we have Before Watchmen Silk Spectre #1. As I already mentioned, Darwin Cook's going to be there, Amanda Connor's going to be there, and this is the Dave Johnson cover variant. So all three of those guys are going to be there. Now, finally moving away from Before Watchmen, these two guys are probably the #1 on my list. And I think once I get through the doors of New York Comic Con on Saturday, I'm going to run right to them just to make sure I get them. And they would be John Layman and Rob Guillory of Chew. So I got only 2 issues. Chew #30. This is a key issue. I'm not going to spoil it at all. I'm not even going to preface this with a spoiler alert because I'm not ruining this book for anybody. But #30 is a key issue. And then of course you have the one-shot, probably the best character in Chew. That would be Chew, Secret Agent Pollo. So I'm really hoping I get to meet these guys. I just want to have the opportunity to embarrass myself in front of them and just gush about how awesome their book is, how funny it is, and how it's pretty much my reason for living. So next on the list is Daredevil 189. It's a Frank Miller book. Frank will not be there, but the artist Klaus Janson will be there. Now originally I picked up this book based on the cover, but again, Frank Miller did the cover. So it's like, alright, do I really care about getting the interior artist's work when I really haven't like flipped through these pages and fallen in love with it? Or is just having the cover with a signature good enough for me? So this might be one that I chop off my list. Now sticking with Daredevil, I'm showing you Daredevil 197 again. And I say again because if you watch my Boston Comic Con video, you know that I already got this signed by Mike Mignola. Now, I have 3 other creators that are going to be at New York Comic Con that worked on this book. Klaus Janson, who I just mentioned, Larry Hama, and I'm totally going to butcher this, but Bill Sienkiewicz? He's going to be there also. So if I can get 4 guys on this one book, and 4 pretty big names, that would be pretty awesome. Like the value, and I don't mean like monetary value, but just like the value of the personal value of this book just skyrockets by having that many people on it. Now the last Daredevil book that I'm considering bringing in is Daredevil 257, right here. Great fight between Punisher and Daredevil. Again, it's the cover that drew me in, and I looked a little deeper. John Romita Jr. does the artwork for this, so he's going to be there. Now this is a book that I bought at the flea market based on the cover. It's Detective Comics number 467. And luckily for me, the cover artist is going to be there, and he is Rich Buckler. So if I can get him to sign this, it would mean a lot to me. Now this is a book that I don't have to get signed, and it's on the chopping block, but I consider it one of my safety books. And I might be totally wrong about this, but by safety book I mean, okay, if some of the other artists are just too high in demand, this is somebody that I can just walk up to and get a cool book signed. And it's Gambit #1, and the artist there is Lee Weeks. So you guys know more than me. Is Lee Weeks going to be pretty available, you think? Should I bring this along? Now here's another book that I thought might be cool to get signed, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, and that is Green Lantern #100. Still got Green Arrow with him on this. And the artist that's there is Alex Saviuk. Don't know much about him, but you guys tell me, is it worth getting his signature on this? Now this is a Green Lantern book that I really like the cover on, and that is Green Lantern #155. Covers by Joe Staton. So he's going to be there. Like I said, really dig this cover. Love that the Oath is on it. So if I can get him to sign it, that would be really cool. And then speaking of John Romita again, I got Hit Girl #1. Obviously I'm really into the Kick-Ass and Hit Girl universe. Hit Girl is my favorite character. So if I can get him to sign this, that would be really awesome. Going back to Mr. Perez, we got Infinity Gauntlet #1. Which I think would be cool to get signed. And also Joseph Rubinstein is going to be there. So if he's available, I'll get him to sign it. Alright, next I have some Iron Man books for you. We got this cool Iron Man vs. Hulk cover by Bob Layton. He's going to be there. Another cool Iron Man cover, #197 by Rich Buckler. Then another Bob Layton cover, Iron Man 254. Just a funny, Iron Man vs. Santa cover. I think I'm definitely going to get him to sign that one. Then going to Kick-Ass 3 #1. Here we have John Romita Jr. and Adam Hughes. So again, Even though I'm kind of going in excess of my Romita books, this is only my second Hughes book if I bring a Dr. Manhattan, so I'm going to have him sign that. Then this is one that means something to me. It's a New Avengers and Transformers book. The artist, Tyler Kirkham, is going to be there, so I can get him to sign that. This would be a neat one. Most people know Charlie Adler from Walking Dead, obviously, but I actually had this random Peter Parker Spider-Man number 29 book that he worked on. He didn't do the cover, but his interior art he did, or the interior art he worked on. So it's funny, like I flipped through the pages and it actually looks like I'm reading a Walking Dead comic, like the way he drew the characters. So his style definitely resonates across his work. So I think that would be pretty neat, because everybody's going to be throwing Walking Dead stuff in front of him. So I think that would be pretty cool, if I even get near him at all. If choose number one, this is probably number two for me. I have Revival, number one, first printing, and Tim Seeley and Mike Norton are going to be there. So if I can get both of those guys on this, that would be phenomenal. I'm not going to go crazy on the Revival books, even though I have all of them, but I'm also going to bring number 12 along. This is the Scotty Young cover. Unfortunately, Scotty Young is not going to be there, but in addition to the two guys, Art Baltazar is going to be there, and I guess he did some work on the interiors as well. So I have the opportunity to get three people on this one issue, if I get them all. Or if... Actually, no, I'm going to make a strong push from Norton and Seeley, so failure is not an option, but I think at the very least I can probably walk up to Art Baltazar. Who dat? I don't know. Spider-Man number one, that's a miniseries that I really enjoyed. Sarah Pacelli's going to be there. And yeah, you know me, pretty good with the ladies, so that shouldn't be an issue. Probably get a signature and a phone number. And then the divorce papers from my wife. Oh, and then did I mention that Chris Claremont's going to be there? Yeah, you guys might know him. So I have a couple of books that he worked on. I'm going to see if I can get him to sign. The Uncanny X-Men number 122. That would be cool if I could get him on that. Then Uncanny X-Men number 195. He worked on that in addition to Bill Worcestershire. Again, one of those funny covers that I really liked, so that would mean a lot to me to get them both on there. Then I have a key issue that I have the opportunity to get a couple signatures on, and that's X Factor number 24, first appearance of Archangel. Walter Simonson's going to be there, and Bob Wyasek. Then circling back to Andy Kubert, I'm going to bring along X-Men number 25. This is a key issue because it's where Magneto rips the adamantium from Wolverine. So I think that would be really cool to get his signature on that. And then even though I mentioned that, millions of people are going to be tossing Walking Dead in front of Charlie Adler, I definitely got to bring a couple books with me just in case. I have Walking Dead number 100. Now this is like the chromium wraparound cover. I was about to say I have all of the number 100s, but I did have all of the 100s when I ordered it, and then they tacked on a few other ones. So this is like the most valuable of the ones I have, so I thought he should probably sign this if I meet him. I did consider bringing the variant that Mark Silvestri did on the cover on. Now, I don't really like his cover, but I was like, well, maybe, if the opportunity presents itself, I could get Adler and Silvestri on it, but I don't know. If you really don't like a cover, why would I do that? So, I don't know. You guys tell me your feelings on that. So, I got number 100, obviously a key issue, and then this is just a cover that I really liked. Good old Negan. Number Walking Dead, number 111. So this is where you come in. If you've had experience at New York Comic Con in the past, or with some of these artists, let me know. Let me know who's going to be super in demand that, unless I really make a run for them, I'm not going to be able to meet. So bringing their book is kind of a waste of time. Or, conversely, who's going to be pretty easily accessible that I should bring their books because it's a guaranteed signature. Obviously, I want key issues that mean a lot to me, that are high in demand, but I don't want to be left out in the cold if, some of these lines are just beyond ridiculous. That's why I want a marriage between these high demand artists and then the ones that are more available. Lastly, I need help from some of you that have been to New York Comic Cons in the past. Now, it's my impression that if an artist is at his table and you walk up to him, you can get your stuff signed. But I've noticed when you go to the New York Comic Con events page, particular artists actually have scheduled autographing times. Charlie Adler is one of them. I think Larry Hama is one of them. Tyler Kirkham is another one. So based on that information, what does that mean? Does that mean that they're only going to be at their table at that time? Because most of them aren't in like a special autographing area. It just says, at their table. So does that mean that they're only going to be at their table at that time? Or does that mean that they're going to be at their table, for most of the day, but they're only doing autographs during that time? That scenario doesn't really make sense to me. I just don't want to leave it up to chance. I don't want to wait for Charlie Adler all day if, he's only scheduled to do autographs from 5 to 6 p.m. So if you guys can shed some light on that, that would be great. Other than that, guys, I'm really looking forward to New York Comic Con. I'm so psyched. I'm beyond ecstatic that I'm going to go for 2 days. Like, it's just so much to try to squeeze into one day, especially when you're limited because you have to, in my case, you got to run and catch a bus back to Boston that same night. It's just going to be a blast, and I'm bringing the GoPro with me. I'm bringing 3 batteries, and I'm going to be charging it, after day 1. So I'm really hoping that I can bring you guys some great footage, and hopefully it'll be centered this time, so you're not like seeing Neil Adams in the corner here, who, by the way, is going to be there, but I will not be paying for him to sign my books. Got the Captain Planet out of the way. Now I can just spend my money on his artwork. So the next video you'll see will be my adventures at New York Comic Con. Unless I get shot. Which I probably will. Except that I won't, because I have an invisibility cloak. Ooh.